If you've been scrolling through endless spec sheets, watching YouTubers hype up the best gaming laptop and still feel like you're stuck in a loop of indecision, this review is here to cut through the noise. I've spent the last week actually putting the ASUS Vivobook S16 into a real-world gaming and work routine, so I can tell you whether it lives up to the hype or just looks good on paper. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about why a 16-inch laptop with an OLED screen and a 16-core Intel Ultra 9 might be on your radar. The promise is simple: you get a portable machine that can handle the latest titles at high settings, a color-rich display for movies and creative work, and enough RAM and storage to keep everything smooth. The flip side is that you're asking a thin chassis to dissipate a lot of heat, you're betting on battery life staying decent, and you're paying a premium that could also buy a decent desktop. Those are the exact trade-offs I wanted to see in action. I started by swapping out my old 15-inch gaming laptop for this Vivobook S16 on a typical weekday. My schedule included a morning Zoom call, a couple of hours of video editing, an afternoon session of Elden Ring, and a late-night marathon of Valorant with a friend. That mix hits the three major use cases people usually care about: productivity, creative work, and sustained gaming. The first thing you notice is the screen. The 16-inch OLED panel pushes 2880x1800 resolution, which feels like stepping into a mini theater. Dark scenes in Elden Ring show deep blacks without the halo you sometimes get on a standard LCD, and the 120Hz refresh rate kept motion buttery during fast-paced fights. In practice, the colors are vibrant enough that my video editing timeline looks more accurate, and I could actually spot subtle gradients in a game's lighting that I'd miss on a cheaper display. The downside? OLED can be power-hungry, and you'll see the battery drain faster when you push the brightness and the refresh rate together. Speaking of battery, the 70Wh pack gave me roughly 4 hours of mixed usage before I needed to plug back in. That's enough for a commute or a coffee shop work session, but it's not a day-long endurance machine. When I cranked the graphics settings to Ultra in Elden Ring, the battery dipped to about 2 hours before the charger became essential. If you expect to game on the go without a power outlet, that's a real limitation you need to factor in. Heat and fan noise are the next big conversation points. The Intel 16-core Ultra 9 285H is a powerful chip, but it's also one that generates heat when you keep the GPU at its max for more than an hour. In my Elden Ring test, the laptop stayed around 78°C on the CPU and 84°C on the GPU after a solid 90-minute session. Those temps are within safe operating limits, but the fans kicked into a noticeable whine at about 55 dB. In a quiet apartment, you'll hear it, but it never rose to a point where it drowned out game audio or my voice chat. If you're used to laptops that stay whisper quiet under load, this is something to weigh. The cooling solution does keep throttling at bay, which means you maintain high frame rates throughout long play sessions, a clear win for anyone who hates sudden FPS drops. Keyboard feel is another practical factor, especially for gamers who spend hours typing commands. The ASUS Vivobook S16 sports an RGB Backlit Keyboard with a decent travel distance, roughly 1.3 mm, which feels like a blend between a laptop and a mechanical keycap. The keys are responsive enough for rapid Valorant inputs, and the backlighting lets you see the layout in low-light rooms. My only gripe is the placement of the FN key. It's tucked a bit far left, making combos like FN plus F5 for brightness a tiny stretch, but that's a minor annoyance compared to the overall typing experience. Connectivity-wise, the machine checks all the boxes. Wi-Fi 7 gives you a future-proof wireless connection, and the inclusion of Bluetooth 5.4 ensures low-latency pairing with wireless headphones or controllers. I used the laptop with a 144Hz external monitor via the USB-C port, and the signal stayed stable with no tearing. The ports are a decent mix: 2 USB-A, 1 Thunderbolt 4, HDMI 2.1, and an SD card slot, which means you can hook up a variety of peripherals without needing a dongle hub. Now, who should actually consider buying this laptop? If you're a serious gamer who also needs a high-quality screen for content creation, and you value the flexibility to move between workspaces, the Vivobook S16 hits a sweet spot. The combination of a strong CPU, 32GB of LPDDR5 RAM, and a 2TB SSD means you'll never hit a performance wall when editing 4K footage or loading massive game worlds. The OLED display is a genuine differentiator for anyone who cares about visual fidelity, whether that's watching movies, designing graphics, or just wanting that extra punch in game environments. On the flip side, if you're